Welcome back, guys. If you remember us, we are Matt and Brock. We are the JockTalk Podcast. We would like to thank everybody in advance for listening in. Just like the rest of the country and the rest of the world, we've been on a little bit of a hiatus over these last few months. So, Brock, how have you been?
Oh, good. Just trying to stay alive and survive without any sports going on. So it's been a weird few months. Never had this happen before. I'm excited for baseball, basketball, football, all about to start back up. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, we're not used to, like you said, baseball and basketball starting up right around the same time. It's hard to believe that, basketball should be over by now, and the MLB All-Star Game was supposed to be about a week ago, I think. So it's going to be kind of weird having them start up at the same time. But for those of you who are familiar with us, we're changing things up a little bit this time. So, instead of having a little bit of a longer episode, we're going to go multiple shorter episodes throughout the week. So hopefully be a little bit easier listening. But we're going to kick it off with baseball today. Baseball starts in less than a week already. I think, people have been waiting for it since the shutdown happened. So we got our predictions on tap for you guys today. World Series predictions, all the major award predictions, and a couple of players who we think may overachieve, underachieve, and the impact that some of the players sitting out may have on the season. So to kick it off, we have a new segment for you guys. It's called Carlos Says. Let's take a listen. Can't do that in baseball. Was it 60 games in 62 days?
You can't do that in baseball because take too many days off and 102 mile an hour fastball looks like 112. Mm-hmm. Or a breaking ball. Yeah, Take some time off and don't get no at-bats from real games.
Baseball is back next Thursday.
That's the problem with baseball. It's hard to come off the bench.
Well, there's a universal DH now, which helps the Brewers. Ryan Braun will have to play the outfield. He's
a bad outfielder.
He's always got nagging back injuries.
No, I hear you, but as a whole, Ryan Braun was a decent outfielder. Ryan Braun was a really good Milwaukee Brewer. I'm fucking kind of salty on what he did to that dude and all that line and all that. But he had this great motherfucking career. Yeah. Right up, not Yao. Nobody's ever going to be Robin Yao.
Yeah.
But equivalent to Paul Molitor, who's a great Milwaukee Brewer. Easily equivalent to that. Yes. Second greatest brewer of all time.
Ryan Braun?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, now...
Who would be second? There is no second. And nobody's ever going to be above Robin Yao. 19 years? How many Ryan Braun got? 11, 12?
Something like that.
Yeah, he's not going to never be Robin... Nobody will... Yeah. Robin Yao... Yeah. I remember when he first played his first game. 19 looked like he was fucking 12. No?
Yeah. Baseball's back next Thursday.
I hope it all works out, but I don't see football lasting because them dudes sweat too much, and they're not in no kind of bubble, and it's just shit's,
You see that they're going to start extra innings with a guy on second?
Okay, my team comes to bat in the 10th. A guy goes to second right away. For real? Just to speed up games? Or that's just for this season because of coronavirus?
I think so. It's something they've talked about for previous years.
That's like some stupid shit. If that's a way to speed up the game, I would be like not against that. That's dumb.
Well, nobody likes to stay up and watch an 18-inning game.
Honestly, not all of them, but some of them, absolutely. That's awesome to be watching the Brewers in one and you win it in the 18th. There's no better game, you know that. Mm-hmm. Losing one in the 18th, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, messes up your whole...
It depends which side you're on.
That, and then there's still going to be the 3-batter minimum, so if you have to use your entire...
If it's a televised game, the network don't like it. They probably, some fans tuned off, and it pissed off a lot of people who lost probably 2 shows worth of advertising. That's the issue. It's the networks that don't like the long game, not baseball. What, the stadium? Well, some stadiums have them places empty by the 10th inning.
Depending on the teams.
Yeah, have you ever been to a game where a team made a badass comeback? No.
I was at the game where Giancarlo Stanton got smoked in the face.
Yeah, I don't know. Good.
That was good stuff.
No, because I don't dislike him. He got smoked by a fastball. Right in the fucking noggin.
Fastball.
Even if it's 90, that hurts.
Yeah.
We can't throw 90.
Back in my heyday.
90? You ever go to like the fairs and they have them things and you can get in there, 72. You know why? It's a piece of shit little old ass junk ball. That's a lot of get a brand new real hard ball and throw it. Your speed would be way higher than their balls. Do you know that?
Probably. Smoothed
For
out.
sure. All that.
Not significantly higher.
You ever touch a ball that's been hit around a lot? It feels heavier.
Yeah.
Especially them at them things. I've done that a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like, that fucking hurts. All of a sudden you get up there, kaboom! You're like, oh, I'm good. Uh-huh. You ain't done that in a long time, and you're going to get up there and turn, no, you're all fucking tough. Yeah, maybe you can, but yeah, it ain't like you've been working out or fucking throwing around for like an hour. Big difference. I don't think my rotator cuff don't hurt no more. It took like 10 years. No, like 20.
I think the Astros are still going to get fucking just beamed every time.
They're going to get beamed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some pitchers don't give a fuck. Well, no, not now, because every game counts really bad, and then a pitcher comes out there and beans them, he's going to get booted right away. But wait until a real season starts. That shit's not going to be forgotten. Them fuckers are getting beamed.
So Carlos doesn't think that there is going to be a full MLB season with everything going on. Obviously, basketball is going to have a bubble, but baseball is not. And having 60 games in 62 days just seems like a stretch. What do you think, Brock?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard for the players to adapt to that. I mean, just for anybody, 60 games in 62 days, that's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting to see how the players can adapt, especially the pitchers. Like the hitters with the universal DH, it might help them a little bit, but it's still a lot of travel time, a lot of different things going on that we have never seen before. So it's going to be a pretty exciting 60 days of baseball.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on a couple of things, for the travel. So with baseball, they are going to be playing their own division and then the division from the opposite league. So the NL Central will be playing a lot of games, almost 40 out of the 60 games against the NL Central, and then the rest of the games against the AL Central. So let's just take our Milwaukee Brewers, for example. They are going to have to go at times all the way down to Houston, which is a long flight in and of itself. So, but with that universal DH, I think one of the teams that it really does help is the Brewers. Ryan Braun, according to Carlos, again, the second greatest Brewer in history behind the kid Robin Yount. But, when he's not ready to play the outfield in a normal game where he might need to take the day off for his thumb or his back or just rest, they might be able to just put him in DH. And Acevedo Garcia, who they signed in the offseason, instead of, being that fourth outfielder, he may be the DH or he may be just that third outfielder on certain days. So there's a lot of teams, obviously, that it helps and that it hurts. But with that universal DH, Brock, let me ask you this. Do you think that it is going to take pitchers a little bit of adjusting, getting used to not having that pitcher in the lineup, or do you think with this long layoff that the hitters are going to be a little bit rusty and pitchers will have the upper hand there?
Well, I think it's going to be weird for both because sometimes like the NL, they always face the pitcher. Now they don't. How is that going to affect them? I mean, a lot of these pitchers have bounced around from AL to NL, so they've seen the DH before, so they shouldn't treat it any differently. It's another batter, but with all this stuff going on, it's hard. It's going to be hard to tell. This first week of baseball, it could be highest of highs and lowest of lows.
Definitely.
We're going to see, I think, really competitive baseball from top to bottom, at least for the first couple weeks, and then your top teams will take over 2-3 halfway through the season. So we'll see. Like, I think the pitchers will adapt, the batters will adapt. I think the 60-game season, it might honestly bring more viewers, because with a normal season, 162 games, we can lose 2-3 in a row. This 60 games, you can't lose any. Like, you can't slump. You have to take advantage of every single game you can, because 60 games is going to fly by, and you can't lose more than 2 in a row. Otherwise, you're almost out of luck with the playoffs and everything. I think it will be very competitive because of the 60 games.
Now, let me ask you this: do you think that the managers in both the AL and the NL, obviously, do you think that they'll have more adjusting to do with the universal DH, or another rule that's going to be going on is that there still will be, even with everything going on, the 3-batter minimum? Which do you think managers will have to prioritize or adapt to more?
I think it's honestly going to be the 3-batter minimum, because usually, we're going to throw my lefty versus your lefty and get him out. Now, you got to face 3 batters. Well, we got the next 2 righties, big bats. Like, you got to think 3 steps ahead, not just 1 anymore. So I think them adapting to the pitching rule is going to be a lot harder than just the universal DH, because DH, a lot of these managers don't care about pitchers hitting. They don't. So give me another hitter. Awesome. But with a 3-batter minimum, that changes a lot. I mean, we saw it a couple of years ago in the playoffs with the Brewers. Miley threw 1 batter. He was the starter.
Yep.
1 batter got him out. It changed everything. It didn't necessarily affect the game, but it was like, oh, he's our starter. It's good. 1 batter in.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, now they don't know what to do. But with the 3-batter minimum, I think it is going to be a lot harder for the managers.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned big bats a little bit ago, and with that, obviously, there's going to be some big bats and some big arms that are going to be out for, if not the whole season, because they've opted out, then just part of the season, because whether they've tested positive for the coronavirus, or let's say in Mike Trout's case, he has a pregnant wife and they're expecting a child, and he's already said that he's going to be leaving to go be with her. So whether he misses 3 games, 5 games, 6 games, that's a big deal in terms of both his team's chances at making the playoffs, his chances at personal awards like MVP and such. So, but on top of that, we have a list of players who are going to make some big differences from not being there. So, Ian Desmond for the Rockies, I believe he had the most home runs out of any shortstop in the past decade. So, that's a big bat that they're missing, especially in Coors Field. Zimmerman from the Nationals, is going to be missing. A lot of people call him Mr. National. He's been there since basically they've been a franchise. The Giants aren't expected to be any good this year. I don't think they're going to be anybody's World Series picks, but Buster Posey is out. And then, I think we both agree probably the biggest one is Aaron Hicks, the Cardinals closer. I know a lot of people have the Jordan Hicks, excuse me, thank you. I know a lot of people have the Cardinals as a popular, possible World Series pick, and not having that closer, we'll just have to wait and see how that's going to affect them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, with these players opting to not play, even the David Price sitting out, like, he's not your ace, but that rotation is not very slim for the Dodgers, but it shortens a rotation that maybe Kershaw pitches a couple of short days rest. Does it affect him? Does it affect a couple games? We'll see. Like, that's another thing. Like, these players missing, like, how much will it affect their team in the long run?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know another thing that you wanted to hit on, like, with everything going on, no fans in the stadiums for the most likely. There's going to be some adjustments having to be made by the pitchers and by the hitters even. Some of them I think are going to be easy for them. Some of them are going to be difficult. They have baseball players, I think, more than a lot of other sports are creatures of habit. Batting gloves in the back pocket, sunglasses on top of your hat. So things like, not being able to spit sunflower seeds. How is that going to affect them? Are we going to be watching a game on TV and see a dugout littered with seeds? Is there going to be a punishment for that? Are teams going to be fined for that? Small things like, not wanting the pitcher to lick their finger to get a little bit of a grip on the baseball. Having a wet rag in their pocket seems just absolutely ridiculous. But, it's just one of those things where this is a new world that we live in. And, if you're going to see a wet rag in a pitcher's pocket, then so be it. But I know there was a couple of other things that you wanted to hit on in terms of maybe the in-stadium experience or on TV experience.
Yeah, because without the fans, it's going to be a lot. Is there going to be home field advantage? Like, that's a big thing. I know some stadiums are talking about putting cardboard cutouts of people in the stadiums. I've seen teddy bears in the league over the seas.
KBO, yep.
KBO, there you go. Yeah, and I read that a lot of the stadiums are going to use MLB The Show sounds during the game with fans or just whatever they have on MLB The Show. You will hear it in your hometown stadium, and it's just going to be weird. It's something. I hope we never see this again because it's just so weird. It's something like I never thought I'd see. Like, there's sports with no fans, no noise, no home field advantage, nothing. It's just gonna be a whole new dynamic, and it's just gonna be weird to watch. But we'll see. I mean, it's gonna bring the viewership like through the roof.
Yeah.
So because we've been out of sports so long, and now they come back. This could be really good for them. This could be really good for baseball.
For sure.
Because baseball was trending downwards. Now you have a shortened season. More people are going to watch on TV now. And it's maybe more people are like, yeah, nothing's on. I'll watch a baseball game. And maybe they're like, baseball's really cool.
Yep.
But we'll see. It's going to be a lot of different twists to the game that it's going to be weird to get used to, but it could work. We'll see.
Yeah, I know you mentioned a little bit about home field or home court advantage. In baseball, it's probably not as big of a deal as what it is in football or a basketball. But just imagine that pitcher who can't find the strike zone to save his life, and the crowd is just on him, home field or away. That pitcher who just can't find the strike zone. Is that going to be different without the fans there? I guess one of those things we're going to have to wait and see. And one of the other things, and I think this is a very polarizing rule change. Either people love it, they hate it. Seems like there's no one who's indifferent about it. But in extra innings, runners are going to start on second base. Personally, I like it from a strategy standpoint. I don't want to see games go into the 18th inning. It wipes out your bullpen, especially with a season like this. It's going to be all that much more important to try and save your bullpen. So, I like that they got creative with finding a way to hopefully shorten games. But what's your take on the runners on second?
Like, I'm okay with it. It's gonna again another thing that's just gonna be weird to see. But the rule is it's the last batter to get out goes to second base, and if that runner scores, is not an earned run towards the pitcher. So it's a little weird, but
right.
like you said, it speeds up the game. A pop fly, 2 pop flies, and it's over. Like,
yep.
It'll speed up the game. I think again, it's for the fans because if you go to like when you could go to games, how many times have you gone to a game and it's like, oh, it's a full stadium in the 16th inning? No, ain't nobody want to stay for that. You could be the most diehard fan. I don't want,
Yep.
No, this is getting boring. I don't want to stay another who knows how long this is gonna go.
Definitely.
Let's leave. But now that speeds up the game. Maybe we only see 10 inning games, 11 inning games. We might not ever see a 18 inning game again.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that because that's a 6-hour baseball game that you got to sit at or even watch at home. So I think it's a step in the right direction. I think that rule might stay. Maybe a little tweak. They start them at first base instead of second base. That might be something because second base, I mean, that's a grounder up the middle. It's over. At least give them a chance. Like, put them on first. But that's just, we'll see how this goes first,
Yeah. So with all these rule changes, who knows how it's going to affect just statistics in terms of, is like you said, for a closer, it might not be counted as a earned run, but is it going to count as a blown save if that happens? So, reliever of the year might be affected by, runners starting on second. And like we mentioned earlier, you can't really afford to go into those slumps. I know, going back to our younger years with guys like Adam Dunn and Richie Sexton, where it seems like, they were either hot as can be hitting home runs 500 feet or they were striking out. You can't really do that this year. So with that being said, who are a couple of players maybe that we have as, players who we think might struggle a little bit, or players who might surge, not necessarily because of the conditions, but players who you're excited for this year?
Well, with all this going on, I think it's going to be hardest for the young guys because they haven't developed a routine of playing games continuously. They played a few games here and there. Now maybe this year they're a starter. Like one of the guys, a big fan of, Vlad Jr. He could struggle. Like, it could be real bad. Like, and if he gets in a slump and he's so young and it's a very short season, who knows if he could get out of it? It might be a hit or two there, but it's not his typical power swings that we're accustomed to seeing, or just lasering line drives. But then you go look at a guy like Mike Trout or Yelly. They can come in and they'll go 4 for 5 4 nights in a row and just be on top of their game. So it's going to be interesting to see how these players could adapt to the shortened season and just developing a routine and trying to stay ahead of what they're usually at,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the opposite of slumping obviously is streaking. And, it could take one solid week of games to get a player into MVP or Cy Young consideration. It could take 2 starts to get someone into Cy Young consideration, or take them out of Cy Young consideration. If Madison Bumgarner has 2 bad starts, he's out of it. Not that, there's a ton of people picking him for the award. But with that being said, let's go over our predictions for AL and NL MVP. Brock, do you want to start?
Sure, I'll go NL MVP first. I think it's a little bit of a homer pick, but I think Christian Yelich will just, he could have easily won last year. In my opinion, he should have won. But it's Cody Bellinger had a great season, nothing away from him, but I think Yelly had overall better statistics, but I think he just continues his hot ride. He's one of the best players in the National League and the whole MLB at that. And I think he continues to ride high, and he's the star of the Brewers. And if Yelly goes, the Brewers go.
Absolutely. So my NL pick is kind of a surprising one, but not too far-fetched. I like Nolan Arenado for the award. In real-life baseball, unlike fantasy baseball, defense matters, and you could say he's arguably the best defensive infielder in the league. Playing in Coors Field, playing against teams like the Giants, terrible pitching staff. He's gonna be able to play the Seattle Mariners a couple of times, and not a great pitching staff. I think he could surge. I think I like the Rockies to have a surprising year. I like them to make the postseason. So I think if that happens, Nolan Arenado is going to be a really easy pick for MVP if he has a good year and the Rockies somehow manage to make the playoffs. So on the AL side, I think this is a little bit more chalky. Mike Trout is an easy pick to make, but I think there's concerns over, like we said, his pregnant wife. How many games is he actually going to miss? So my pick for AL MVP is Aaron Judge. I think, again, if he streaks throughout the year, if he finishes with 25 home runs in 60 games, are the writers going to be able to not give him the award? I think we all think the Yankees are going to be a decent team this year. They're a popular World Series pick, so I think Aaron Judge carries the Yankees this year.
Yeah, I talked about young players a little bit earlier, and I think Fernando Tatis Jr. is a young stud, and I think on that Padres team, I think they still got Machado over there. That's a big bat, but I think he had so many good moments last year. I think he will transition into this year and just continue his hot streak. And it's 60 games. Anything can happen. We don't know. It could be whoever, but I'm picking Fernando Tatis.
So you got to make the decision between Tatis and Yelly in the NL. I know it's a tough call to make. Tatis is a really popular pick. He can hit for power, he can hit for average, he can steal some bags, and depending on how people think the Padres might do in the NL West, he could be the main man for them. So moving on to the Cy Young, I think we both agree on some of these. So I think we both have Garrett Cole in the AL. The chalky pick. What is it? The $374 million man. And then Walker Buehler in the NL. I was surprised to see that he had only the third best odds of taking it home. I think he's easily the best pitcher on that team, the best starting pitcher. The Dodgers gave Kershaw the nod for opening day, but I think that's more of a longevity type thing. So I'm really expecting Buehler to take that step forward and be, without a doubt, the Dodgers' ace this season.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree 100% on both of those. They're, I think, top 2 out of 5 pitchers in the league, and they're just studs right now, and just their team's built around them. Pitchers are based off wins and strikeouts. I'll take those 2.
So with that being said, my World Series prediction, we're not going to go through and do the entire playoff bracket, but because who knows how the MLB is going to do their postseason still. So for me, with the awards, it kind of gives it away. I think the Yankees play the Dodgers in the World Series, and as much as I hate to say it, I think the Yankees get it done. They get to play the Orioles a ton, who are not going to be very good. They get to play the Blue Jays, who knows, they could be good, they could be bad, they could be one of those streaky teams that we talked about. So I like the Yankees to win the World Series this year. What do you got, Brock?
Well, those are pretty safe picks, to say the least. But for me, I've been saying this all show. It's a 60-game season. Anything can happen. Anything. Like, who's to say the Dodgers don't make the playoffs for some reason? They should. But with a 60-game season in 62 days, anything could happen. So I'm going on a little limb. I'm going to say it's going to be the Atlanta Braves versus the Chicago White Sox.
Okay.
It's out there. It's out there. But
the White Sox are a really improved team. You got Manny Grandal, who the Brewers were going to miss a ton. Lucas Giolito, who was a consideration I had for AL Cy Young. He had a great season last year. So
they brought in a handful of players, and I think it's a team like not many people are thinking of, because the Twins are in their division, and the Twins are good.
Yep.
But the White Sox, they could sneak up there, and they might not be the 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, but they fly under the radar and make it there.
Yep.
We'll see. Just
gotta get hot at the right time. That's all that matters.
60 days. That's all that matters.
So with that being said, it's actually a perfect transition here, Brock. We have our new segment. I'll drink to that. So Reach's gonna come with a take that we have. It may be hot, it may be not. And if we agree with each other, we'll take a drink. And if we feel like taking a drink, we'll take a drink anyways, because that's how we do it on the JockTalk podcast. So you mentioned you have the Atlanta Braves in the World Series. I'll drink to that is. Ronald Acuna struggles this year. I mentioned it earlier, 40 out of 60 games against your division. That means going up against Strasburg, Scherzer, DeGrom, Syndergaard, all these other players that have all these other teams that have really good pitching depth in the East. The Yankees, like we just talked about. So here's mine. So Ronald Acuna Jr. currently has the second best MVP odds at plus 533, meaning if you bet $100, you get $533 in return. I think he finishes outside the top 5 in NL MVP voting. And for you fantasy people out there, he's currently, his ADP, average draft position, is 1.7. Ronald Acuna finishes outside of the top 10 in all of fantasy baseball. So I think Acuna struggles. I think it's a lot more to do with the pitching that he goes up against versus his talent. But it's not like I think he's going to have a terrible season. I'm just cool the hype down a little bit. I think Acuna has a struggle of a season, and the Braves have a struggle of a season with that.
See, you didn't say the Braves were going to have a terrible season. I'm not saying the Braves were going to be the number 1 seed, but I do think I agree with what you say is he could struggle. But the team, I like the team. If Freddie can come back healthy, Dansby's a good player. You got a bunch of young pieces there that I think could help the Braves go to the World Series, but I'll drink to that.
All right. What do you got for us, Brock? Let's take it home.
Mine. The Houston Astros. Everybody loves them. Not for the right reasons, but the Astros will finish at least 10 games under 500.
Okay.
Because they don't have their fans. They can't mask the banging of the drums anymore. So we'll see.
I don't know that that's true. I don't know that I agree with you. I think that they have a lot of talent. Who knows how much of it is artificially created talent? But because
I want to see it. Let's see it. We're gonna see it now.
Since we censor ourselves, forget about the Astros. I'll drink to that. All right.
I like your invisible cup that you throw up there. It's great. They don't know that you're drinking anything.
So we're going to call that a day, guys. Make sure to drop us a like. Follow us on Twitter. We'll be posting some new content all throughout the week, whether you're into baseball, basketball, football. We'll have our guy Jake Sussex on eventually for our MMA show. We'll have some fantasy, more fantasy-related conversations going on when the time comes. So, Brock, it was nice getting back at it. Everybody,
definitely
have a good night.